Hello everyone, and welcome to the 13th installment of our Orizon series. I am your host, Doma or Aries, on multiple places at the Nerdy Aries on Twitter, and I am joined by my Orizon Cast -1, unfortunately. Just as we always do, we'll be going down the list so you know where to find us and interact with us on socials and who will be playing what during tonight's episode. Playing the lovely Azamar Raldir, I am joined by @Delta_Diagoras on Twitter.
Oh.
Playing the perky and quirky Piton, I'm joined by @TheBlueFlawn on Twitter and several other places.
Hello.
And unfortunately, last but not least, rather than our full cast, we are joined by the incredibly let's use intriguing and enjoyable dulcet tones of @Matoid on Twitter. Playing Yizit, I'm joined by Alex.
You be meat.
And as I said before, I am your host, @TheNerdAries on Twitter, as well as Aries or Doma on our community Discord. If you don't have Twitter or you don't have any other sorts of socials, but you have Discord, then you can go ahead and scroll into the description of this video, or scroll down into the panels if you're watching this live on Twitch, and join our community Discord, where we answer questions or interact with the community on a daily basis. Now that the introductions are out of the way, we can go ahead and move on into our announcements. A few announcements. Firstly, the format of which we are going to be doing the beginning of our shows is going to change in the near future. The recap is going to get shorter, and the announcements are going to be added in a different way. More details to come soon. Following, a personal announcement. After stumbling through the Twitter community of D&D, I came across a very incredible artist that does not have as much of a following as they should. Very, very, very talented, and after viewing and sharing a few of their works, I felt it only necessary that this creator have more attention brought to them. @Muklis that is MUKHLISNUR on Twitter. Please go check out this creator. His art, or their art, is absolutely incredible. Now then, our last and final announcement. Our scheduling, once again, for those who have not fully been alerted to this, has changed significantly. Our Arisen shows and our Draenora shows have been split. They are no longer on the same week. They instead go right after each other. As this is the 28th, a Thursday, next week on Saturday, we will be having our Draenora campaign and no Arisen, and then the week after, Arisen and no Draenora. Without further ado, if there are no other announcements from our cast, we can move into our recap about what happened last time. Are there any announcements?
No.
Not at all. I don't think so.
And once again, unfortunately, we are not joined by the voice of Grafford, @TheGentleman Yosh on Twitter. Please send him some love, as he was not able to join us. Now then, without further ado, let us talk about what happened last time on Orizon D&D. Our heroes, after being reunited within the chambers of the young prince of Irongrove, Raldir, discussed what their next plans were going to be, and revealed a rather troublesome set of occurrences that had taken Raldir's ability to walk from him. After some deliberation between the crew, minus Yizit, who was still in heavy lockdown due to his dangerous nature, decided to pursue the king after several long minutes of non-responsiveness from the butler Birchwood. Proceeding out towards the hallways, leaving Raldir alone with seemingly one of his guard in their flight form. The bird before him began to shift and mutate and change, his brownish sparrow-like body changing into that of a darkish raven color and body type, with a single red stripe going down the belly, after of which turned into a humanoid type figure, swirling in darkly colored feathers, until eventually Raldir was transformed via the use of some powerful magic into a small rodent and taken from his bedroom in a moment's notice. Meanwhile, in the hallway, the other two, Grafford and Piton, made their way through the halls of Castle Irongrove and came across a suspicious figure moving through the hallways, and during pursuit came across a wall of flame while hearing the sound of a woman screaming on the other side. The both of them, not hesitating even for a moment, charge through and see the young princess of Irongrove being captured by a man with no eyes, instead two burning balls of flame in place of pupils at a sort of intersection of hallways, attempting to apprehend her. And after some retaliation and combat between the two, our heroes failed. The princess was transformed into a sort of pinkish yellow light and trapped within a glass bottle, while this figure loomed over the two unconscious heroes, left at the behest of apparently one of his acquaintances, or one who was involved in this nefarious act. Meanwhile, while all of these different events are taking place at the same time, Yizit, after being chained and detained in a full lockdown environment, the large metal door swung open and revealed a delicate, elven female figure, with one of the guards carrying several keys on a ring. After being commanded to release the beast and some rather nefarious magics were placed upon the mind of Yizit, the pair, the group, walked through the holding cell area of the castle and made their way out to the courtyard where these infiltrators regrouped. After some discussion between the few that were there, the woman then ordered Yizit to leave rivers of blood within the streets. The group then turned into some sort of flaming avian creatures and soared high above the tall trees that surrounded the kingdom of Irongrove. After some pursuit and interesting series of events, Yizit regained control of his mind and decided to head back towards the castle thankfully without harming any of the citizens. Whereupon he was greeted by some of the local defense force, and through some very clever use of some spells, was able to communicate with the sort of leader of the squadron. They pursued the remaining infiltrators back into the castle and found the two bodies of Grafford and Piton. After waking them up and some explanation going back and forth between this squadron leader and the heroes now reunited, minus Raldir. The squadron leader told one of the nearby soldiers to retrieve the belongings, as these were no longer under suspicion and instead were added to the search to find any sort of information that would lead the people of Irongrove, the defenders of Irongrove, to the location of which the young prince and princess were being whisked away to. The party then met under the command of the squadron leader, a rather tiny person. A small elven creature, or rather humanoid, of the name Twig, led them around the perimeter and came across a large firestorm, to which he made rainfall to put out the flames. We will now be once again picking up our story after Twig and the remaining heroes had gone out on their scouting and returned to the city of Irongrove. You now stand at the entrance. Floor is yours.
Well, Yizit is, I guess you'd say, despondent, because that life lost means his life lost. So he's going into a kind of just autopilot.
I'm probably gonna be worried. Very relieved.
What are the guards doing?
The guards? There aren't anybody on the streets. Whereas usually several people going about their business, but it doesn't seem that there are anybody out. There are several guards moving through the streets, going into houses, and sort of just swarming like ants. All you see are people in silver armor walking through and looking very, very busy. Twig seemingly disappearing into the chaos.
And I still have the medallion from the guard commander?
It was not a medallion. It was a ring on a string.
Ring on a string, correct. I still have that.
Yes.
I would like to attempt to grapple the nearest guard.
Okay. Go ahead and make a grapple check.
We'll call it a roleplay grapple. I just want to grab him by the armor, the corset, the shirt, whatever it is, and wave the ring in his face.
Alright.
And once that has his attention, I want to throw a thumb over my shoulder toward Piton and say, "Do what she say."
Alright, so you go up to a nearby sort of group of three. That's kind of moving a little bit more slowly, and you grab onto, I guess, the sort of cowl that they wear under their armor. Let's see. I need to grab some dice. Alrighty then. Give me 1 second. Alright. So, you approach this group of three and get their attention and proceed to do what wanted. Currently, Grafford is standing at the side of Patan, sort of just thinking to himself rather quietly. Let's go and see what they want, fellas. And the group of three heads in the direction of the pair, till the group is all together.
So, what is the meaning of this visit?
What do you need?
I couldn't understand what she said.
What is the meaning of this? Why are there several guards here?
You use head meat, tell point ear, find smart man.
Me and Valdia?
Yizit just kind of nods in his vacant, open mouth way.
I guess he wants you to help us find our friend Valdia, or the young prince.
That's what we're trying to do. We're asking people about what they saw and getting information and seeing if people are involved with what happened and how they got in.
Yizit is going to use his greatsword and smack that man across the butt with the flat of it. So very little damage.
Well, you're gonna go for your sword and sort of put your hand on it and whoa, 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 whoa.
Oh, when is my sword never in my hand?
I know, but the guards are gonna react.
How about this? I just cuff him across the back of the head.
Okay.
And Yizit will say, show you where go, Ash, triangle, that way, go now.
We're just city guards. We can't. They begin to walk off.
I would like to make a full attack against him.
This is when Grafford, the mediator, is going to speak up. That is not a great idea, is it? I think we need to find someone in charge. Probably the person we talked to before we left. Patan?
I don't quite remember them.
The one that said that we were supposed to go to the gate, and the one that gave us the ring that you have, is it?
The general? Or...
Yes, that one.
Yizit has no idea what he's talking about.
We could. Maybe we can ask the guards if they know where they are.
Yes, but they already seem to have walked off. Let's just take a look around, yes?
Sounds good.
Grafford begins to lead the way. I'm gonna make a perception check for him. Ooh, not good. Anybody helping me?
What?
Is anybody helping me with this perception check? Because that was not good.
Use it, Will, if
I
it's based
will
on smell.
help as well.
Okay, that was much better. Alright, so you begin to walk through the streets, sort of just trying to see where these people are coming from, until eventually you do see this sort of building off to the right of the castle gates, where guards are sort of streaming in and out of. So you make your way over to that building. Apparently seeming to be some sort of focal point since they're going in and out.
Maybe on that. I'm gonna point to the building.
I think that would be a great place to start. Since
How
there
many
seem
guards are we talking? Like hundreds, or?
I would say, well, it's basically like 2 lines where they're leaving in sort of sets of 3, or entering in sets of 3. And I would say about 40 or so are just within line of sight right now. And the building is relatively large in size and 2 stories.
Gotcha. Gizit will kind of turn his head and eyeball Grafford and Patan at this point.
I will lead the way. I am the leader, after all. And Grafford begins to make his way towards youth group of 3, standing out like sore thumbs, basically, against the many guards that are all draped in armor that is very gray in color, as it is silver.
Alright, once Gizit has an idea of where he's going to step in front and just kind of bulldoze the way.
Alright. I want you to make a general athletics check for me.
Gladly.
Ooh, get one of those.
It was an 18.
Let me make some rolls. Oh god. Oh god. That was not good. So Grafford sort of gets in the front for a moment and begins to lead the way and decides that probably the best entrance is the entrance where they're going in from. So begins to walk in that general direction, and then Yizit swoops around in front and almost like a bulldozer just kind of locks his body in one way and then just shoves his way past apparently 12 guards with relative ease, as they were definitely not expecting it as you're ramming into them from behind. And as you push your way through this sort of large door frame that can barely accommodate your size, is it? Since it's supposed to be larger than everybody by a significant margin. You bulldoze your way through into what appears to be the first floor of a sort of barracks area. You see several sort of sleeping arrangements going on either side of the room, and a central area with about 6 people in a circle. Imagine one of those like help desks that are circular with the people in the center. 3 on either side of the both halves of the circle. And as you bulldoze your way through, basically everybody's eyes sort of just turn as the clanking and crashing of metal of people falling over and being knocked aside is like the sound of several pots and pans falling to the ground in a clattering cacophony of noise.
Yizit is going to turn around, grab Graffert, turn back toward the semicircle, hold Graffert out at arm's length, and say, "Little man, tell these men find smart man."
Yizit, could you give me the ring, please, before anything gets too dicey and we need to explain what we're doing?
Yeah, the other hand will come out and just kind of loop it over his neck.
Thank you. Can you put me down?
Not safe.
On the shoulder.
And on the shoulder he goes.
Yes. I love that spot for Grafford. So great.
He's like a parrot.
I'm just staring like, what is going on?
Grafford sort of just leans in the direction of the semicircle, since they seem to have some sort of authority over the guards. As you see guards walking up to the circle, talking to one of the several people there, and then going off either to the stairs on either side of the room at the end of the area, or just moving towards one of the several living arrangements in this space. After a few moments, the three of you make your way towards the circle, and the sort of commotion calms down. I have to talk to myself a lot here. Okay, I'm thinking about the best way to do this. Okay, yeah, that's probably the best way to do this. The people in the circle notice the ring on that Grafford now has around his neck. Hello. Looking over at Baton.
Well,
Is there anything we can help you with?
we are looking for a general.
We have several generals. Could you give us a name?
I don't remember.
Does Yizit remember what his name is?
That would be a history check on whoever wants to make it.
Oh, God.
I'll try my best.
Yizit got a 19.
Okay.
Did I roll the right one? That's weird.
Let me check
Yeah.
that.
You did roll a history check, no worries.
Holy crap.
How is that a 19 though? It says you threw a flat 19. But the dice
Yeah.
says 11. Oh no, that
The
was...
the dice on my screen says 19, but it says 11 plus 7.
Oh, that's the athletics check, because you threw an 11 on that. Okay,
Oh, yeah.
that's what it was. Let me check notes. Okay. It is out of my notes. I don't know where I wrote that. So
we'll just say that general.
That general, yes. Take the left staircase, go up a floor, and then the door on the left, the second one. Off with you.
I will go in that direction.
Yes, it's going to look at them for a solid, uncomfortable 2 seconds, and then follow Baton.
Okay, that was 2 seconds. And you go. So, you go to the far end of the room. Go to the left staircase. It goes up a bit, then you go left, and then sort of turn around to go up again. And into another very similar space, but instead of the open strip in the center where there would be the circle, instead it's just replaced by another 2 rows of sort of living spaces in this barracks. To your left, there are several doors. There are about 6 doors going from one side of the wall to the other side of the wall on your left, and you go over to the second one. And you're in front of the second door now.
Yizit will open it with his standard enthusiasm.
So you grab on the handle and you push the door in without turning the handle.
Correct.
Make a strength check. An athletics check.
23.
You push it in, and it immediately comes off of its hinges and sort of just... And you're the only thing that's keeping it upright is the fact that you're holding it as you've pushed it about. Go ahead.
I would like to step inside, turn 90 degrees to the right, and place it against the wall.
You do so. The room is empty.
She's not here?
You are standing now in a sort of office space. There's a large desk with 2 seats on one side, and then on the other, a single seat. And there's several candle sconces along the sides of the room, but there's nobody in. It is dark.
Are there any papers on the desk?
There are several scattered pages along the desk.
I would like to pick them up and hold them up to Grafford.
Alright.
We don't know what type of what that is. But I only know it's something we can't even look at.
I think we should leave those alone and leave this room before we get into anything about trespassing when somebody isn't here.
What means passing tress?
Being somewhere we're not supposed to be without people knowing.
I'm just gonna quickly look outside the office space in case anyone's coming.
There are people walking out and about, and your intrusion has been noticed by a couple of people that are looking over in your direction.
Yizid's going to duck his head slightly and turn and look at Grafford on his shoulder and say, so, we raiding?
We should not be raiding, no.
Do you mind if I leave quickly to ask some people if they know where she is?
Yizid's shoulders will kind of sag, and he'll just walk out and try to replace the door in a relatively decent fashion.
So everybody walks out of the room, you grab the door, and you sort of try and put it back in its frame, and you get it to the point, because the door's supposed to open out, so you pushed it in past, because it doesn't open in. So you put it on the frame, and it's sort of teetering a little bit, and you sort of mess with it until it stays there, but it sort of leans inwards, but it holds, it doesn't fall in.
Good enough.
Who is the closest person to us?
A guard.
I will walk up to the guard.
Okay.
Excuse me. Do you know where the woman in that office may be?
Say again? I didn't hear the last part.
Where the woman in that office may be.
Woman, you're saying?
Yes.
General was a man.
Well, I've been getting it wrong this whole time.
We'll roll it. The man that's supposed to be in there isn't a woman, that's the general. And all of the generals are in the middle one, sort of having a meeting. They should be done pretty soon, I guess.
Okay.
Did he give an indication of where this was?
Yes, he pointed at the door.
I'm going to go stand about a foot away from the door and stare at it intently.
Are you gonna tripod and sit there and stare?
Yeah, about 4.5 feet off the ground, just eyeballs fixed.
Okay. And Grafford goes everywhere you go, so.
Is it? Please don't scare anyone.
She doesn't even get a side eye for that. It's just fixation.
I missed a few words.
So you're both gonna just wait?
Yeah.
Question. How long is it, like, the waiting process?
It's gonna be about 20 minutes.
Roughly. Okay. After about 5 minutes, Yizit gets bored. And he's going to start scratching his tribe symbol into the door very gently with one claw.
I don't think we should be tagging this place. Kind of important, is it? Let's just wait.
So, tag halfway done, Yizit withdraws the paw.
If you'd like, you can do something. I can wait for you guys.
I don't know if Grafford does.
After another 5 minutes,
Okay.
Yizit's gonna try it again to finish.
Don't do it.
And we'll say, for the sake of the wait, it's every 2 minutes after that.
Yeah. So it's basically just gonna be 20 minutes of down.
Pretty much.
Down.
Why did I sign up for this?
Down. And 20 minutes pass. I don't know if Grafford has mending, but if he does, oh well. Until eventually the door swings open outwards towards you. Several.
I'm standing a foot away, so I guess it hits me in the face.
Pushes it further, moving you actually. And a very large, almost hulking mass of a man, slightly taller than Yizit, but just very wide. It's all upper chest. In this sort of largely adorned chest plate that is silver lined with gold along the edges. A very ruggedly handsome elven man, which is very strange.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it's an elf bigger than me.
And bulkier.
Oh.
I'm gonna look up at them, or John's gonna look at
Chiseled jaw and very human-like features.
Yizit will instinctively straighten up for once and stand to his full height. How does he compare?
He is about 4 or so inches taller.
I'm going, or Katana's gonna look up at the man and say, "Hello."
Hello, small one.
You were wondering, we're looking for a general.
He walks off, and the other generals begin to pour out of the room.
I would like to take a moment to inspect his armor.
It is full plate armor, with several fixtures all along. One thing that you notice about the general's armor pieces rather than that of the guards is that they have these sort of vines of ivy sort of depicted running along the sort of joint, the pieces where the joints connect in the armor. It almost looks as if a golden thread is keeping the armor together, at least cosmetically. And it is very extravagant.
Does it look comfortable?
Not on sight. It's very smooth, but at least on the outside, everything is very uniform, even in size, with some very few exceptions, such as the very, very large man. But
so, as Yizit, it doesn't look like it would fit me.
the one that looks like it would fit you would be the one of the guy that came out of the door first. He's the closest to sort of your body size, but he stands out very much so from the rest of the medium humanoids.
Gotcha. Once I notice that they're not paying attention to us, I would like to pick Grafford up by the collar and just kind of hold him in the face of people who walk by.
Yep. So the other generals begin to pour out of the room. There are a total of 6, 2, 3. There are 5 generals. Four of them pour out, and there is one that is still sitting inside. And as you sort of peer into this room, it is simply a long table with several chairs, and you see 2 figures. The general that you had met before, and Twig, who is also sitting in the room.
This doesn't make sense to me, so I'm going to follow them. Piton and Grafford.
Twig looks over at the doorway. Hi. The general wanted to see you now.
I'm gonna walk in.
I'll follow her with Grafford kind of held at arm's length.
Yizit, I think you can put me down now.
I'll pull him back really close to the face and look at him with a side eye. And then put him on top of the shoulder.
I think I'm safe.
On the shoulder he goes.
All right. So Twig sort of makes his way along the side of the room, opposite of 3 of you, going behind the general, and makes his way out of the room, closing the door behind him. Hello.
Hello, sir.
First, I would like the ring back. Yes. Grafford takes off the ring and hands it across. At arm's length. Definitely not enough. Hands it to Yizit to hand it over.
Yizit will use his much expanded arm's length to hand it to the general.
General takes it into his hand and puts it away within the folds of his attire. Now, Twig has already given me his report, but now I have some questions for the three of you. In fact, you, smallest one, Grafford, if I recall correctly. Our engineers wanted to meet with you after this. Now then, what Twig, or as you so call him, I prefer to call him by his actual name, Twergeth, has reported a large forest fire to the south of Iron Grove. Is this correct?
That is true.
Yes.
Now, Twig, as you so call him, has reported that, luckily, some rain moved in and extinguished the flame. Is this true?
Well, yes.
Cloud come, fire die, no care.
I want Patan to make a persuasion check. With advantage.
Oh, holy crap.
Well, that'll do it.
Yeah.
Call it out.
26.
With a nat 20.
Yeah, not 20.
Okay. Well, alright then. Was a spot of luck, then. Forest has always been on our side. Now, the three of you are supposed to be under severe investigation, but I used my position to lift said investigation.
Thank you for that.
Now, I have some questions for you. You were questioned before, and we have taken the information that you have given us, but we have some that we'd like to ask the three of you regarding the events that have happened earlier today.
Question DM.
Answer player.
Was Yizit ever actually questioned, or was he
He was
just kind
not.
of locked up?
He was just locked up.
Okay. So he has no idea what they're talking about?
Nope.
Okay.
Now then. The three of you came to a Mali via the use of an airship, yes?
Indeed.
Now, if our reports are correct, and what you have told us is true, the three of you are from the Beholded Reserve.
Indeed.
And Grafford holds out his insignia of being a captain, since everybody in the Beholded Reserve has an insignia, those that are registered with them. Except his is that of a captain. I see. Yizit does not have one.
Yizit is going to shake his head no very vigorously.
Yizit is a sort of special case. Not quite part of the Beholded Reserve, but he is just as trustworthy as us. I see. Now, Grafford, when you crash landed, this is also a question for all of you. The cause of the crash landing was a large twister.
Mm-hmm.
Why, yes, it was. I see. Now then. We have our suspicions that you are directly connected to that of the infiltrators. But before we continue, if you are to be part of the ongoing search to find the young prince and the princess, then you require some information. Firstly, the infiltrators are part of a group, a rebellious group of individuals called the Phoenix Rebellion. They have launched several attacks against our borders, and all of them have gray skin, similar to that of Ash, and for that reason, we have given them the title of Ashborn. We have been unsuccessful in capturing any Ashborn for questioning, as each of them simply burn to cinders upon capture. A sort of strategy or failsafe to prevent information from being extracted, which has proven quite troublesome for us.
At the mention of gray skin, Yizit is going to hold his hand up in front of his face and look at it, and then turn to Graffert and then the general with his jaw like wide open in shock.
Dun dun dun! That sort of surprised moment.
It was Yizit all along.
To him, it's very surprising, but to everybody else, it's just like, yeah, whatever.
Now, when we say skin of gray, it is also very cracked with these sorts of orangish glows coming from those cracked parts in the skin, not quite like that of you. Is it?
Is going to very carefully inspect his arm for any orange glows.
As you're doing that. Now, some of you may have been alerted to the fact that the surrounding wood around our kingdom shifts and changes to prevent infiltrators from being able to enter into Irongrove. Hence the reason, and he retrieves the ring from his folds, that these were created. These rings were given to people of importance, mostly to the royal family. These rings were created by the same man that placed the enchantment upon the forest that allows it to shift and change, and that man was Archdruid Woodknot.
Question for the DM again. I'm sorry.
Go for it.
Are these rings like finger rings, or are they like armband rings?
They're finger rings.
Okay. So they're like tiny.
Yes.
Okay.
The Archdruid, Korsef Woodknot, will be arriving in 2 days for his scheduled return. If everything goes well, on that day, we will be meeting together, those of importance, in order to conduct a sort of plan for searching, finding, and rescuing the young prince and princess. And we have an offer that we'd like to make. When he says that, he looks directly at Grafford. If our intel is correct, and our scouts have reported to us accurately, the base of operations for the Phoenix Rebellion is a sky island to the south of Amali. We have no way of reaching with an attack force to the island, our abilities to become that of avian creatures will only allow us to fly so high. This is where we'd like you to come in. We will repair and augment your airship in order to conduct a raid of sorts upon the island in search of the young prince and princess.
If Yizit had ears at this point, they would be perking up. The general has his undivided attention.
Would this be of issue to you, Grafford, captain of this team? I would have to think about it. I will know by tomorrow. I will let you know.
Yizit would like to poke Grafford very forcefully but thoughtfully in a softer region of his body.
His attention is completely diverted towards something else. He isn't even looking at the general anymore. He seems to be completely concentrated on thought. His face actually seems slightly worried.
Oh, I mean poke hard.
It doesn't affect him. Unless you draw blood and pain him with your claws.
No, I'm just going to drop down to his level and say...
He's on your shoulder.
Oh, well then I'll raise up to his level and say, Captain, raid. Let Yizit raid.
Now then. Once we have your response, we will have a clearer ability to plan. And since you do not have your answer now, we would like your answer during that meeting. So you will be joining us. Now then, the other two, Patan and Yizit, if I recall correctly.
Yes, sir.
You two will be joining our scouts in finding as much information as possible and seeing what this island holds, what it is like, if there are defenses, if it is a front, if it is even a facade. Our information might not be correct. An island might not even exist. I would like the both of you to confirm, or at least be on the force that will scout out in that region that has been reported to us.
We'll do whatever you need.
Some more questions and some more explanations. As I was saying before, this rebellious force is called the Phoenix Rebellion. We have received a few warnings from them, some of which include the statement that the land itself will reborn from the ashes from its former self, and due to their connection and fiery nature, we believe this to be linked to the southern forest fire. Thoughts? Anything you'd like to share? If you have any information about maybe any of the names of those involved, if you heard anything from the infiltrators during your interaction, any points of interest, anything special that happened.
Do I remember anything?
Well, I was going to say, out of character, I remember that Yizit overheard quite a bit
He did.
because he was with them. God, it was the guy with the eyes and...
Yes,
a
you
lady,
got some
and
code
he
names.
heard all those. Yeah, he heard all those. So he'll just utter those in his typically non-understandable way.
I believe we should make this easier, as we have learned before that this greatly increases your ability to communicate, and the general cast Speak with Animals on you.
Now, is that he cast it on me
Yeah.
so I can speak with everyone, or he cast it on himself so he can understand me?
It only works for the two of you.
Oh, okay. Player knowledge being somewhat lacking, I'll give him all the information I have regarding physique and dress and code names and everything.
Okay, so for the audience, what that means is the names that he gives are Cog, Wings, Scorch, and Looks. Wait, that last one isn't right. Not Looks, it's Note. Those are the code names that you got. Describing their ashen gray skin and their attire, mostly being of black leathers. But all of them wore the same sigil, a golden phoenix rising up towards the sky, or at least going in an upward direction. Is there anything you'd like to add specifically?
Just that his armor looks nice.
All right, you want to sort of gloss over that comment. But one thing that does catch his attention is the fact that you note that you state that some of them were elves, but there was also a dwarf with them. I see. So the rebellion no longer consists solely of elves. And you say that this dwarf also had ashen gray skin, yes?
Indeed, good sir.
I'm gonna raise my hand.
Now, as you describe the four that you were with, now that leaves two. There were a total of 6 creatures spotted flying over the kingdom. He turns over to Piton. Piton, how many were there during your encounter within the castle halls?
How can I remember?
Make a history check. The check is not going to be hard, because technically this all happened today.
I got a 6.
You remember that there were 2. Remember the number of people.
I remember that there were 2, sorry.
I'm going to make a history check for Grafford.
I do remember the Thunder Cannon. Can I mention that?
You remember what?
The Thunder Cannon.
Yes.
One of them, he held a weapon like Radius. I believe he calls it a Thunder Cannon. It was not in best shape, but it was operated. Yeah.
I know not of what you speak. The young prince was never trained in combat with any sort of cannon that spouted thunder. Our reports did hear, or rather did say that our defense force heard sounds like thunder echoing through the halls, which is concerning, which means that they either wield powerful magic or something even more sinister.
What was the weapon that was talking about?
Tell me, are there any details that you can recall about the two? Anything special or significant that separated them from one another?
I do remember one other thing. One of them had no eyes, just flames for us.
Is there anything else about the encounter?
I felt unconscious before I could almost that I can see it.
Right then. Those are all the questions that I have for the three of you. The three of you will be staying within the castle for the next 2 days, upon which you will be meeting with our craftsman, Grafford, and hopefully you will have an answer for us as soon as possible. That way, when we do have that meeting of minds, we can discuss how we will move forward regarding the rescue of our royalty. The three of you are dismissed.
Before he says dismissed, speak with animals is still engaged, correct?
Yeah.
I would like to interject, General, if I may.
If you have any more information, say so.
My only question is the formation of ash, at which point we lost the intruders, was spreading out in a fan shape. Could that not indicate the direction of travel?
That is a great point, and one that our trackers seem to have issues with following through on. It would appear that the direction in which they were last reported seen heading in did not correlate with the direction of our reported base of operations. So we believe that once they had exited the vision of our eyes, they changed directions, as well as the incoming rainstorm scattering the ash even further. We still currently have our eyes in the sky, so it would seem, scouting as we speak. We will have more information in the days to come.
You said it split, right?
What was that?
You said that the smoke split, right?
One more time.
You said that the smoke split, right?
Are you asking, is it?
I'm asking in general.
General? There wasn't
Because of
smoke.
or ash.
The ash simply came from these avian creatures, which seemed to be made of some sort of flame. The trail that they left behind was scattered by the incoming rainstorm and the winds being shifted very greatly.
General, if I may ask, outside of your great community, are there any lesser peoples with mythologies of a phoenix?
There are no civilizations within the enchanted wood around the kingdom. That which lies beyond is none of our concern.
And no tribal peoples make incursions into your land?
The enchantment upon the forest would not be able to allow them pass to our valley.
Without the collusion of your archdruid, that is.
If you are implying that the highly regarded archdruid Corsif Woodknot would work in tandem with these infiltrators, I would watch my tongue.
I am implying nothing, General. I simply suggest that we, how you say, explore all avenues. Perhaps,
As I have
if
said
you
before, the three of you are still under investigation. You are just permitted time
then, General,
outside of cell
perhaps you would
blocks.
perhaps you would send a contingent of guards to speak with this archdruid to ascertain his loyalties.
As I have said before, he will be arriving in 2 days to take part in this meeting. He was going to arrive in 2 days to, at least as reports say, repair the legs of the young prince after the assault against him.
Well, General, I would not seek to become an arch enemy of this druid.
You are dismissed. Waves you up.
I have one final question. The other royals in the family, are they okay?
Not at liberty to get that information. Please make your way to the castle.
And I shall do so.
Over at Grafford. You can expect correspondence from our craftsmen in the near future. Do the three of you leave?
Does
I
Grafford
left.
kind of gesture me to?
He hasn't really been active in this conversation. He's been very deep in thought. A lot of things are passing through his head, and he's just giving simple nods and does make a gesture to mostly just thinking.
I guess I'll turn and leave then.
So, three of you are good to go. It is now just myself and Raldir as we change our scene over to the young prince. Raldir, you are being flown, clutched in the talons of a large, flaming bird. You are moving in a group of 4, with 2 several hundred feet behind.
Now, okay, so because you said it, I suppose I'll ask, even though they are a couple hundred feet behind. I can still see them, right? I mean, how big are they?
How big are the...
Are the other phoenixes, I suppose?
They're all the same size. Are you just talking about, like, how big one of them is, just for reference?
Just for reference, yeah.
Okay.
A tiny mouse.
You're a pretty tiny mouse, but these birds, I would have to say, are about the size of falcons. Slightly larger.
Okay.
They're very large birds.
Yeah.
And their wingspans are actually pretty big, too. About 1.5 feet.
Now, I know it might be hard to see, but can I see if the nearest one, like the one who's closest to the one that I'm being carried away by, is holding anything in its talons?
No.
Okay.
They're not carrying anything in their talons. You can see, but they're not carrying anything in your talons. You're flying over forests. That's all you can see beneath you, several hundreds of feet above. Until, eventually, there are no more forests. Instead, you begin to see grasslands. And then grasslands continue until eventually they hit a shore, and you see a beach. and then you pass past the beach, and you are above the water.
Huh.
You continue to fly for an undeterminable amount of time, until eventually the wing beats get louder, with more force. They begin to rise in altitude, and as you try and crane your neck in the direction that they're flying, you see a large island. And as you draw nearer and nearer, along the underside, you see several hundred small holes.
Ooh.
The group of 4 flies into one of these holes and flies up through it. It is entirely dark and is suddenly lit by the flaming bodies of the phoenixes, similar to that of lights in a tunnel.
Yeah.
Flying upwards through these long, twisting, maze-like tunnels until eventually you come into a large room. It opens up into a small semicircle depressed into the ground, and you come in from imagine a sphere-like room. The bottom half of the sphere goes down and forms the sort of floor. And at the bottom of it, you see a podium directly in the center, at the bottom of this sphere. You approach from the top of it, the tunnel, even coming in from the bottom of the island, snaked around in such a maze that you come in from the top. And you see several roosts and hundreds of phoenixes flying in and out of the several entryways. You see a large loading area with several large crates and storage sections. It is very dark. It is difficult for you to see in your mouse form. The group of 4 begins to fly over the storage area, proceeding further until eventually diving down towards a pair of 2 large, dark wooded doors, with 2 guards on either side. As the birds take a dive towards the ground, their forms begin to smolder in a smokescreen until the 4 regain their humanoid shapes. Any of the people that you are seeing in this area have ashen gray skin. After they complete their transformation from phoenix to humanoid, the guards on either side of the door immediately recognize them, and the door begins to open from the inside. It opens into a large, almost court-like area. It is dark. The pillars are made of a black stone, almost like a dark granite. It is mystifying, almost as if you were walking upon an ocean of the night sky. Several sconces, which would be for torches, are instead small little balls of floating flame. The large red carpet, in the shape of a phoenix, pointing towards an elevated throne upon which you see a woman with flames for hair, ashen grain skin.
Okay.
You are being held in the hand of the man who transformed you. Wings was his codename. He throws you on the ground in front and releases the spell.
Okay.
The woman speaks. Ah. So I see you were successful. stand, young prince of the Grove of Iron?
I guess I'll reluctantly stand.
Please. You are perfectly safe. Do you know who I am?
Well, all I know is you're a rebel, and that's all I need to know.
Please. I think you and I could be friends. Raldir.
Now, I'll only, shall I say, do business with you if I get one thing from you first.
I believe you are in no position to make demands, seeing as such that we have your sister as well.
I was only going to demand information. Just what is the whereabouts of the rest of my family, but I know now about my sister.
Yes. She gestures over towards one of the other four. Or rather, towards the four as the doors at the end of the hall open, the ones that you had entered from, and two more enter into the chamber. One of them, a man with no eyes, and flames, the pits, carrying a bottle with a bright pinkish orange flame burning inside of it, kind of holding it out in front of him gingerly, almost as if able to drop it at any second.
Oof.
He walks forward.
Okay.
See, your sister is with us, figure says upon the throne.
I'm going to look back to the man holding it, and what you said, he's kind of looking like he could drop it at any times, or at any time, you said?
You can tell that he's intentionally holding it in such a way that it creates that effect.
Suspense, yeah. Okay, so then I'll just look back to the woman on the throne, and I guess I'll say, and what of the others in my family?
Well, I'm going to need their report first. But that aside, young prince, I asked you a question. Do you know who I am?
Other than a rebel, I do not.
I go by many names. To my people, I am the unfaltering flame. To the rest of the world, I am the rising phoenix. But you may call me Elijah.
Okay.
Step upon my steps, young prince.
I guess I'll walk up slowly.
We have something of yours. Something that you probably would like back in your possession.
If it's not any of my other family members, looking back to the man holding the bottle, I suppose I probably already know what it is. It's reaching around on, I guess, on my back, where it would usually be?
Yeah.
Yeah, reaching around back there.
Another thing, your legs are supposed to be broken.
Oh yeah, I didn't think about that until now.
They aren't.
Oh. And I'm still managing to stand with my whole
Yep.
paralyzed thing?
You're not paralyzed.
Oh, yeah, I didn't think about that. If she doesn't say anything, then I guess I'll bring that up. I guess I'm gonna point to my back and I'm gonna say, oh yeah, so you was it, I suppose, your people who caused this? And so I'm sure you probably know, how can I stand right now?
One of the four from the first group looks back towards the other two that joined. It is a smaller woman. She steps forward.
I wasn't trying to paralyze you or anything, no. Instead, it was just some of my invention, some of my design that simply put you in a state of paralysis temporarily, just long enough to allow correspondence to the Archdruid to get him to start heading towards Iron Grove.
I'm gonna say to myself, smart women, I like that. Okay, your invention. Well,
Yes.
Where's mine?
That is what I would like to speak with you about, young prince.
Okay.
Tell me. You must think highly of your people, especially your father, yes?
Why, might I ask? Do you ask me this?
Because you've been shielded from the horrors that he has committed against the people of the country of Amali.
Now, I don't like to call fair folk, such as yourself, kind of doing a sweeping up and down motion with my hand, kind of looking at her, a liar, but I'm going to have to call you out on it now. I don't think you're being entirely truthful.
Have you ever seen the destructive power of which your people carry?
I...
Have you
cannot.
experienced firsthand what it is like to be on the end of an Iron Grove made sword?
I cannot say I have.
Many of the people of Amali have. The forests that you call home in your kingdom were not always as desolate as they are now, young prince.
Well, to make a nation, you must make a couple sacrifices, shall I say.
Sacrifices would entail that those people were that of your own. Young prince, you are not like them.
What do
You are not an elf, young prince.
I mean, I suppose I might look a little different, but I mean, and I've only heard rumors of what I may be, but I mean, I have no reason to trust them.
Young prince, you may be questioning why we did not just kill you. We easily could have, yes?
Well, you could just be easily using me as a bargaining chip right now. I mean, there could be many reasons why you didn't kill me.
You are a smart man. Which do you think it was?
I mean, I originally thought my idea might be why.
And during this conversation, with no eyes, begins to walk up the steps and places the bottle on one of the sides of the throne, one of the arms of it.
Yeah.
As your eyes trace him while speaking, you watch as he walks into sort of the non-lit section.
Ooh, into the shadows.
And as you look around, there's none of the squadron that brought you here there anymore either.
Oh.
It's almost as if this large empty room is only inhabited by the both of you, at least visually.
Mm-hmm. And I guess I'll continue by saying, but please enlighten me. What is the real reason why I'm here?
I have brought you here to give you sight, the truth, and an opportunity to make amends for the sins of your father.
What my father has done is none of my concerns. I haven't been home in years.
And yet you still hold him so dearly without even realizing what he has done.
Well then, what has he done that is so wrong?
Ooh, that was bad. Okay. That's over.
In time, we will show you firsthand. What I will tell you now is that many of the people of our rebellion, as you put it, are those that have suffered at the hands of your people and want to seek a better life as a result. They have come to us to be reborn in the flame and given a chance at redemption. There are many here who would rather see you burned to ash.
She gingerly holds up the bottle.
Your sister is so beautiful.
All she's staring at is the orange-pink flame.
Well, she is royalty, of course, so...
Now, there's something that I wanted to ask you. Something that I believe you'd be able to help us with. Our craftsmen, I will say, have been very busy following in your work.
Okay. Admirers, I see. I'm gonna roll my eyes a little.
The woman who stepped up before and explained why you could walk steps out of the shadows as the figure upon the throne gestures in the direction.
Her name is Cog. and she is our chief engineer. She interpreted your blueprints for what you have called your thunder cannon and created several prototypes with little success. We would use these to arm our people and give them the chance that they needed to reclaim their homelands.
On any other day, I'd say that's very impressive. But, I don't think those are your lands anymore. So I'm sorry to break it to you, but I don't think you'll be taking them back anytime soon. And I think our guards are more than capable of handling your jury-rigged weapons. I'm gonna say with a chuckle.
If we believed that these small chambers of thunder were enough to take back what is rightfully ours, already you would have returned to a desolate home. Listen carefully. Do you hear that? It's quiet to you.
I can't say I do.
Listen closer.
Anything when I try to hone in on something?
Nope.
You may be hearing things, but I am not following.
The flames, young prince. Those that which burn within all of us. They sing. And those that listen can hear their song. You stand upon the vessel that will be the harbinger of our redemption. He pauses and places the bottle on the side of the throne on the stands up and begins to walk down the steps to where you are. Such delicate appearance. You are so young, Prince of Iron Grove. We would not
delicate, but
we would not rob you of a long life. You are so narrow-minded. We can show you all terrible things that your people have done. Have you, in your years of being away from your family and your lands, have you spoken to anybody truly without them being in fear of you?
I don't think so. Not that I can recall, at least. Also, you said she walked down to where I was.
Yes, she is about a foot away from you.
How tall are they?
The steps?
No, how tall is the person?
About 5'5".
Okay, so shorter then.
Yes, she is looking down at you still, though. And she is on a
but
higher
she's
step.
On a higher step, yeah, I see. Okay. Then, yeah. Not that I can recall, no.
Young prince, I hope that in time you will see that our cause is the right one. If we were the rebellious savages that your people paint us as, we would kill you and your sister as acts of power to bring fear to your people. Had it not been for the luck of the vessel that brought you back to your home being spotted by our scouts, we would have never had the opportunity to make it into the city. So we thank you for that.
Okay, Miss Elijah, I'll say, doing an imaginary hat tip, being all snooty. Please show me or tell me what my father has done that has wronged you so.
But to tell you that, we must know. Young prince, when you were a child, did you ever venture past the walls of your city?
No, I stayed generally close to the castle as well.
The valleys surrounding Iron Grove were never forests. They were long grasslands inhabited by many peoples, humans, dwarves, orcs, and other elves. Now they are a desolate forest. The wood elves of Iron Grove, led by your father, along with the powerful druids within their ranks, decimated and destroyed the homes of thousands and thousands of peoples, and rows of trees, destroying civilizations in instants, and systematically slaughtering the inhabitants. Those that survived, those that ran and saved themselves from such a horrible fate, now reside within these halls.
Well, I'm sorry to break it to you, but that's what kingdoms do. They conquer for the betterment of their kingdom. I mean, I wouldn't expect anything more or less. It's perfectly expected for the strong to conquer over the weak.
She looks at you with an unfaltering gaze. Her otherwise bald head, save for the burning flames which sort of take the form of hair, gently fall onto her shoulders. The greed and terrifying strength of the Wood Elves of Iron Grove have committed several crimes against the people of Amali, and we are but one of many peoples affected by yours. There have been several occasions in our history where we have tried to reason, forgive, and move forward. But as you can see, they never worked. Now it is time that they must answer for their crimes. Young prince, you are not an elf. You did not lead people to slaughter innocents. We will not hurt you. I will not hurt you. Nor will we harm your sister. We ask that you realize the opportunity to make the world a better place.
Well, what all would entail in that? I say, kind of making, squinting my eyes, kind of.
Many times we have tried to peacefully resolve the issues between the people of Amali and the people of Iron Grove, but they have failed. And now we must use violence. Those that surrender will be spared, but those that do not will meet their end. We will offer shelter to those that do not wish to side with those of the murderers of Iron Grove. And they will find a new life among our people. But those that do not must be removed forcibly.
Now, what part do I, as you say, non-elf and someone who's been gone for most of his life, or a great portion of his life, what do you want me to do? What part do you want me to play in all of this? As I suppose I am at your will and on your grounds.
You may be within our lands, but you are no prisoner, young prince. You are no prisoner of war. What we ask is that you see our plight and assist us, and right the wrongs that your father has committed, and make peace for the sins
Well, I accept that, such as my earlier statement, the strong conquer the weak, and it just happens in everyday life in the world. So I suppose whenever there's a taker, there's someone who gets taken from, so I can see your point of view. Now, as I asked again, what part in all of this do you expect me to play, or want me to? What specifically do you want me to do about all of this?
She takes another couple of steps down until she is right in front of you, and gingerly places a hand on the side of your face. It is warm to the touch, almost like the heat of being near a campfire. Gentle.
Okay.
I would like for you to serve at my side and lead. I would love for you be the face of our people. The young prince rising like a phoenix born from the ashes of his past.
Well, I mean, I left Iron Grove originally for a reason. I don't particularly want to live the life of a leader. I mean, I left for so long for a reason, which is why I was on that said airship going back home. So it's not that I wouldn't, it's that it's a highly undesirable lifestyle, should I say.
Please, we do not expect you to make decisions or lead an army. Simply your presence and the weight of someone of your stature would provide. Would be a great inspiration. Our people and our cause.
And what of my aforementioned friends who are, to my knowledge, still in Iron Grove? What would be their fate in all of this?
Well, if they surrendered, then they would be spared and be treated the same as any of the people who do not wish to live under such a tyrant. They do not play a part in this war. They are outsiders.
And how long would you expect me to lead or be a figurehead as I make this out to be?
Please, you must understand, young prince. War is always changing. One day, a war can last a brief moment, a single battle. Or it can stretch on for the years that this one has. She pulls her hand away from your face and begins to walk back up towards the throne.
Hmm.
You do not need to decide immediately.
And what if I decline? Might I dare ask?
We anticipate that your people will be searching for you. And if they find us, they will attack and try and take you away. It won't take too long for them and their massive army to locate us, so we must move. Cog.
He steps out of the shadows once again.
We are moving.
She steps back into the shadows. A few moments of silence pass, and the ground beneath you begins to shake.
Hmm.
It rumbles until it reaches a pinnacle point and then slowly begins to fade.
Ah. Do you have an answer for me, young prince?
Well, even though I suppose it's been a bit vague, my job description, I'm gonna say, doing air quotes. I suppose I have no reason to say no, given my current circumstances. Even though you say I am not a prisoner, this is certainly what this is feeling like. So I suppose I can't answer in any way other than yes, I suppose I'll do it.
You are not sure. My eyes can gaze into the flame of every person. The flame that burns within them. You are faltering. You will be shown the respect that you deserve. Wings. Please take the young prince to his temporary home.
And that's where we're going to pick up next week. Next time.
Yeah.
I'd like to thank those of you who have joined us, or joining us, for the 13th episode for our Arisen campaign. And we'll see you next time.